Hey everyone, it is midnight connection time, and you see my unicorn? We're in fantasy land, but no, it's actually reality. I have a very, very excited guest, and you'll find out more about this very shortly. It is Dr. Stefan Zavalin, and I'm just going to bring it up. We're going to have so much fun this evening. So, hello.
Yeah.
You are the professional unicorn, which is why I, just for you, pulled this out. And I got this from a client a long, long time ago. And I was like, I got to pull it out and wear it just for you.
I greatly appreciate it. I've got my unicorn cup here as part of it as well to uphold it. But
Oh,
yes,
that is good. Well, now that we've probably confused everyone and everything, like what is going on? We already know Kristen is weird with her little midnight thing going on. What the heck is this unicorn thing? So why don't we I'm just gonna let you take the floor and tell us a little bit about yourself and everything.
sure. So obviously, why the unicorn thing is the immediate kind of question. What does that even mean? Is it just about magical random things? Uh, I have found that in this crazy entrepreneurial landscape, which I used to work in the clinic as a physical therapist, and then I jumped into being an entrepreneur. And everybody is so serious. Even in the clinic, everybody was just so concerned about how do we look professional or not. So, for those of you that don't know, if you know a physical therapist, give them a hug because they have to put up with a lot of crap. We have doctorates now, but nobody really cares about us because nobody treats it. They're like, okay, but no, you're not like a real doctor. So, so inevitably, we have to dress up. So even though we had to do exercises, we had to wear a shirt and a tie and exercise in that and still look somewhat professional and not sweat. Because if you sweat while exercising, it's unprofessional. I don't these ridiculous things. So it came to be that I was starting my own business around an aspect of creativity and really showcasing that unique thing about ourselves in our businesses. And I thought, that's really a unicorn thing. I've been called a unicorn my entire life for a variety of different reasons. And I thought, okay, I needed to be the unicorn, but nobody's going to take me seriously. It's unprofessional to be a unicorn. And the way that I decided to go around it is I said, I'm going to call it the professional unicorn. By default, everything I do is professional and magical. And both of those are true. And you can't argue with that logic because that's what the words mean in general. But a really interesting thing around it, around this kind of the creativity side of it, is the logo, which you'll see if you go to any of the websites, is a unicorn with a purple tie. And the tie ties us right back to the physical therapy side of things because they were so hell bent on having to wear a tie to be professional. And I really think that this idea of us having to be professional, there's so many definitions for it. And that one choice of clothing versus another isn't necessarily the only thing that makes you professional or your word choice or whatever else it might be. And so the company has come out to be that we try to showcase the human side, the magical unicorn side of you in the quote unquote professional way. And we primarily do that through video. So that's the origin of the professional unicorn.
Well, I love hearing that. And because you're a creative person, I'm a creative person. So we like totally bonded in our, we've just met recently and I was like, this dude's cool. And I'm all into my Lady Midnight came from like, I have a love for the Renaissance and everything. And just all of us artists, none of us are normal,
Mm-hmm.
But I also understand the business side. Like I do marketing and marketing strategy, and you have to have numbers and stats behind everything. So, it is really important to be fun. That was actually one of my questions. Is like, why do you think fun is so important to bring into this tie suit society that we live in?
I'm going to answer in a rather roundabout way. And what I like to think about is the work-life balance. That word, which by the way, that makes no sense of work-life balance because work is part of life. Life is ongoing. It's not as if you die when you go to work. Okay, maybe some people feel like they're dead at work. That's fair, but that's the problem. That actually work is very much part of life. So it's not about balancing your life and your work or your death time, whatever, however you want to see it. It needs to be a cohesive thing in that part. And we have very much made it that when we work, we're not allowed to live in that part, and that's where play comes in. That's where fun comes in. And people take all these things to the extreme. They go, "Oh, so you're saying we're not allowed to be serious and we just get to play all the time?" No, that's the point. That's the balance part of it. But we've just swung too much in the opposite direction of saying this is not allowed. And so now more and more we're seeing that we need out of the box thinking in business, in marketing, in communication. We need something different. And yet, the way we've been trained the entire life is you need to be in the box within these parameters, only do it this way. And so you have to blend it in to find those new things. Because majority of the times, the great ideas, the interesting things that we all love watching those Netflix movies about, they don't come from you sitting and reading the same book over and over again. They usually come at a moment where you're doing something completely unrelated. The amount of times that you see in movies when they were out drinking and all of a sudden they wrote something amazing on a napkin. Well, they were having fun. They were doing something else that was different for their neurochemistry that allowed them to do that. That's why it's important to bring it in, because all of us are creative, by the way. Every single one of us, maybe not as artsy and weird as, but all of us are creative. It just depends on what you create. You might create art, or you might create amazing courses for people to make a bunch of money that they may be boring, but very effective. That's still creativity in its own little way.
Right. Well, we haven't talked much about what you do, but so you create videos. So I'm going to ask you, I have like actually a 3-part question that
Ooh.
has to do with making videos, but it also has to do with how I think the boat that a lot of people fall in, which is back to the non-fun part. One is, I don't think, I know, a lot of people get overwhelmed. They're like, we got to create. And I get the question too, do I post every day, 5 times a day, 3 times a day, 2 times a day? And then my question is not how much should you post, because I know that answer. And my question is more is like the overwhelming factor. People get overwhelmed about creating content, and I know you have a system and everything to make it easy. And then the other thing, the second part is people, they get overwhelmed and they feel this need to strive to be perfect. So, and the last thing is they don't pull the trigger because they're overwhelmed. They feel like they have to be perfect, and then nothing happens. So in video creation, I think you probably hear that a lot. So I'm very interested in your answer to that.
I love the way you set up these questions, because you almost set up a system. You set up a system in reverse order of exactly how you overcome each one of them. It's beautiful. It's its own way beautiful. See, everybody, she is creative. She didn't even realize it. Look at that. It's amazing. It's wonderful. Because the most immediate thing you can do is take action. Because that's the problem, is the overwhelm comes from you realizing how much action you actually have to take and what it all is going to entail and all the planning. Uh, Paralysis. It's not going to be perfect, even if you try to do it. Okay, that's it. I'm not even going to take any action whatsoever. So the important part is to take the action right off the bat. I'm going to answer a couple of questions, even though you didn't technically ask them, but you kind of did. In terms of the frequency thing, I know you know the answer, but it warrants repeating, because the answer is, what can you actually be consistent with?
Right.
It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. It doesn't matter that Gary Vee might tell you, go post 17 times a day. Don't go post 17 times. You can't handle that.
Right.
You're going to fail. Why do you set yourself up for that? Whatever you can be consistent with, you can always add. In my experience, you can add more, but it's very difficult to scale back. Most people just drop the ball completely instead of actually scaling down. So the first part is, what can you immediately do now? So if you feel that I need to make a video right now and I'm going to make it just today that I'm going to post, great, go make that video. The reason that you can try to do it right in the moment is that will combat that perfectionism side of it. There is no way you're going to make a quote unquote perfect video right now. Perfect videos take planning. But guess what? What you'll realize is you don't need a perfect video. Many of the times, and I'm seeing this on various platforms, TikTok specifically as a platform, but others as well, we're understanding that humans are humans. We like seeing the imperfections in humans and saying, wow, that person is struggling, but look at they're doing well in these other places. I relate to them. When people are too perfect, we can't relate to them. And so we go, well, of course not. The amount of people that go, look at all these celebrities with six-pack abs. If I was paid to work out, I would totally do it. It's not relatable. We can't possibly think if we had a private chef and all those things. So, but when celebrities go, I really struggled because I love eating pizza. Jennifer Lawrence is a perfect example of a celebrity who she's like, pizza. Relatable, because we're all like that about pizza. I am like that about pizza. So take the action. It will get you across that part of you actually start creating the little bit of content, and it's not perfect. Once you've taken the action, you'll understand how truly simple it is. And then you can start doing the planning, because now you have a true perspective of, oh, it's not as overwhelming as it might be because I know that I took the action. Now, speaking of overwhelm, one of the best things, if we're talking about video content specifically, is batching. So my system, the way that we do it is we record an hour and then we cut up that hour. The thing is, it doesn't mean it takes me an hour. It takes me much more because I have to do all the clipping and the editing. So if you have the money, you hire somebody else to do that portion of it, which can be very helpful from that overwhelm perspective. But if you don't, it's still way faster for you to record all your videos within 2 or 3 hours of a given day, as opposed to every day I'm going to post and I'm going to record a video. You're going to just run yourself ragged if you do it that way. So record them in one day, and then you can schedule them out for the rest of it. Now, this is the part where I just see people go way over the edge on it. You will see a lot of content, a lot of different people in the marketing agency space talking about the sheer volume that you're supposed to create and how important it is that you repurpose it here, do it there. What I find then happens is that the quality and the human connection in the content starts to suffer drastically. So the big pieces to focus on is that, one, you can educate people about something that you're doing. You can have an emotional connection with people about something that you're doing, or you can entertain them, right? As long as you're doing one of those three things, great, wonderful. I don't as much care about the whole thing of like, you have to have a perfect hook and you have to have this. Just maintain that ability to connect with them on a human level on those three. Should you sell to people? Sure. Do not sell to them on every single video, because then it just won't be successful because they feel like you're selling all of the time. And so once you have those three buckets and the tiny little bowl of selling, so we can say 30% entertain, 30% educate, 30% emotional connection, 10% selling, you now know what kind of videos you're going to have to make. You know how simple it is for you to make it because you took the action immediate. You know it doesn't have to be perfect. Now go batch that content and set it on out as you go. That would be my approach.
I'm a huge believer of batching because, like, you've been doing, and you're the video expert. Like, I'm marketing, and like my expertise is design and everything. But that was my New Year's Eve resolution, was to stream every day. I think I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I've been a good girl, but I have not streamed every day. I have gotten better though. I just did do it, and I have some videos where I sound like a toaster because of bad internet connection, and I've learned a lot and everything. Well, my son said, you sound like a toaster in this video. That's why I bring that up. But I quickly learned, and from these interviews, I do shorts out of these things, and then I repurpose them. And so even though I haven't been streaming every day, the batching has helped, because then it's like these aren't all long videos. I have shorts and reels and stuff everywhere. So I totally agree, and have gotten a lot better since New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, I'm walking through a lit up park, and I'm holding a phone, literally just walking around. And now I'm having people who do this for a living, interview people and do these videos and everything on. I didn't even call it a show. Someone's like, I want to be on your show. And it started off New Year's Eve with me just holding my phone going, I am going to stream every day. That's where we're here.
I want to point a couple of things out for the audience. First of all, I love you started with imperfection. It didn't matter, and you continued. It's not as if everything has been perfect. Some of them have sounded like a toaster, but that's the beauty. The beauty is that the action was taken. But there's something different in this mindset that we have, and this comes around to New Year's resolutions all the time. Nowadays, it's the rarity that somebody says, this is my New Year's resolution, and they actually stick to it for the whole year. Right. That's the rarity, as opposed to that should be the thing that people do. Why do people do it all the time?
Right.
And the main reason, it seems, and this is not coming from me directly, this is coming from a multitude of mindset coaches and other people, is that our identity doesn't actually shift. Because what we say is, I am going to be the person that goes live every single, as opposed to saying, I am now the person that this is what I do. Not what I will, but this is the person that I am. This is what I do. That's it. How do I structure everything out? We had the same discussion with my wife. She has left the corporate world. She is now an author. The identity is an author. And our nursery is technically her office. And she keeps calling it her office. And I'm like, no, we're no longer calling it your office. That is your writing studio. That is the writing room, whatever it is. That is where you, as an author identity, work. It's no longer an office. And I think it's a very powerful mindset shift in that idea that now this is my identity, as opposed to I will become this person because of these actions.
Very good. Very true. So along those lines, one of my questions is what can you share? I always like to say something motivational or inspirational, but specifically with you, what would you say to inspire someone? I mean, you are very good and talented at pulling stuff out of people, but um, if you just want to inspire someone to get their creative juices flowing, there's like all sorts of activities and stuff. I've heard lots of different things you can do, but what would be something that you would say, you know, to get you creative juices flowing?
So I work mostly. I work with business owners, and a lot of it is that they have a difficult time finding the creativity in the business and how to link it. And the linking is creativity all within itself. An example that I like to use is somebody he's a mindset coach, and he was looking outside and he was seeing the garbage men coming by and picking up his trash. And he quickly just took a picture of it and made a post about the fact that you need to throw out your garbage mindset, right? That's actually a really creative approach to what he does, but it's a very mundane thing that was just happening around him. So one piece of it would be, what are the general things that you like to do? Obviously, he doesn't maybe like watching people take out the trash, but maybe he likes fishing or whatever else. How can you relate fishing to what it is that you do, to accounting? And initially, you may think this is stupid. And I'm not saying get on a camera and immediately say what it is, but just think about, what are the connecting pieces? What are the things that you like? What are the things that you don't like? Or even better, what are the things you wish were different so that maybe accounting was more like fishing? Whatever it might be for you. That can just get things rolling a little bit. But if you're going, no, Stefan, I can't, the gears aren't even, they're all gummed up. Nothing is rolling for me right now. I need something else. Get out of your normal environment. Go somewhere else. If you're used to walking around the street in the same direction, go to the other side of the street, turn left instead of right. Whatever it might be, go to a different environment, because immediately it will start sparking new different ideas, because the inputs, the stimuli around you are different. That is one of the best ways to start jump kicking and jump starting all of those things. Yeah, that would be my answer.
That reminds me of a college project where you had to take two completely different words and create something. So anyway, or there, it's a word. Well, I did serial killer. Like, I took a box of cereal and I made it into a killer. Like, I made it into, it had rubber gloves that were bloody and a knife and everything. Yes, I like horror movies too. So, but it's a way of like taking real cereal and making it into a killer. So yes, I totally see. I love when you take two completely different words, and sometimes you just got to stretch your mind and just keep brainstorming and brainstorming and brainstorming, and just writing stuff down, and like, then the best ideas just come out, from something really bizarre.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doing stupid stuff like that, like, you know, some people have these goals and are thinking of the marketing goals, but if you let yourself just think of the most insane thing, then, like you said, taking the garbage out, something genius will come out of it.
Yeah. And that one is also a story I like because of how simple it was. He didn't have to go somewhere else. It was something that was happening right there and then. And a lot of times we think that because we see it all the time, it is therefore boring. Because we say the thing all the time, it is therefore boring. Because my business coach, he constantly complains about the fact, he's like, there's only so many videos I can take of myself journaling, but people keep asking for them. It goes like, it's so boring. It's the same thing. It's that, but people want to see it. That's what engages them. So he's like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what I do. So there is a point to it. In terms of the creativity, I will say the other side is that sometimes it may not be creative to you, but it'll be very much creative to another person, and very much different to another person. Which brings us to this point of creativity again. Creativity, I have these kind of three truths about creativity. The first truth is everybody is creative. That's just, we all have it, because you see kids and they're incredibly creative with what they draw, what they make. It doesn't work. It doesn't necessarily have to be functional, but they're creative with it. It might be a car made out of candy. Okay, that's creative. That's different for sure. But the first truth is that we are all creative. The second truth is that it looks different for everybody. And I think that's where people kind of fall into the trap of, they look at somebody else's creativity and they go, whoa, that person's so creative. I could never make videos like them or content like them. That means I'm not creative. I can't do it. No, absolutely not. Yes, you can. The third truth is others should not define your creativity. And that's not only you looking at other people, but other people telling you, well, you've never really been very creative, right? And that's that limiting belief. That's not true. You have been. And before anybody goes, all right, you little unicorn, like, great, you're telling us you're creative. Everybody's magical, wonderful. If you're thinking, how do I apply creativity to business? It has to fit two things. It has to be different and it has to be functional. That's it. Those are the two things that it has to be. Because like the candy car, it's different. That's not a functional car whatsoever. But you may have the absolute perfect functioning thing. But if it looks exactly like everybody else's product, that's not different. So you're not really able to stand out in that case. The exact same things can be said about your videos. If you always say the same things that everybody else says in the same manner without anything different, okay, they're functional, they probably work, but it doesn't really matter in that sense.
Well, one thing we have not discussed is, and you, when we met, you like kind of like threw it at the very end, and I was like, what? Anyway, what I like is you always say you find something unique about every person you work with. Yet you do not share your unique thing. This is, you like slide it at the end. So I did put your bio, and it does mention it in there, and a link to your site and everything. But I want to know, and you might not even say this, because like you say, when it's your life, you're like, well, that's not unique about me. But
Mhm.
two questions. One, what would you say is unique about you? And you could pick something else, but what I am talking about is your story of how you lost your sight, and you're like, you know what, I can't even see you.
Yeah.
But if you have something else unique about you, because I'm sure I can already tell you're a very unique individual, and you're always pulling the uniqueness out of other people. But I would like to know what you think is unique about yourself.
It's a beautiful question. And I'm going to talk about my blindness, but I'm going to use it as a way to showcase the quote unquote unique thing about me, I suppose, because it portrays it well. So when I was in grad school, I was getting my doctorate in physical therapy. I got a parasite in my eye. And it just so happened is from birth, one eye was half developed. The optic nerve was half dead. So it wasn't really working very well. And I was very lucky that the parasite got into my good eye. Lucky being the ironic word. Um, I got misdiagnosed for a while. It was a whole thing. Oh, always everybody asks, did you like go to an exotic country? No, it was in Philadelphia. I got the parasite in Philadelphia. So there you go. Don't worry. It was a really, the case of circumstances for it to happen was insane. So it's not as if everybody's in danger in Pennsylvania or anything like that. Not at all. Um, but what happened is I ended up having to get out of school. I went back in multiple surgeries later. Yes, I completed my degree, but there was nerve damage that was done to the other eye. And so that kind of started the trajectory going way, way down of losing my vision. Luckily, the field that I was in of physical therapy, so much of it was hands-on that I was able to kind of manage for a while until the nerve damage was so bad that I couldn't really read. Documentation was completely screwed for me. And the interesting part that happened is they called me in and we were having a meeting, and I had just gotten my document that said, I am now legally blind. And they said, well, we need to talk to you about something. And I said, great. I've got something important to show you as well. And they said, you go first. So I showed them the document and said, oh, this is interesting. We were about to put you on a plan because you weren't meeting your numbers. I was like, great. This is literally the reason why I haven't been meeting my numbers, because I'm blind. And it resulted in a whole fiasco in terms of the HR trying to figure out how to put me on accommodations and all those things. And that was one of the biggest reasons that I finally said, you know what? This is stupid. I'm done. I'm out of here. If you guys can't resolve this, no way. So I left, and that's being blind is what kind of pushed me into starting my own business, which Otherwise, I probably would still be a physical therapist that wouldn't have pushed this far with it. I just realized all those lovely cliches that we all love. Life is too short. You're kind of being limited by so many things. One of the ones that I really like, it's not a cliche, but it's a way to think about it, is immediately, if I was to say I'm blind, let's say a normal person can do 1,000 things, and you would go, well, Stefan's blind. That means he can only do like 100 things. The reality is probably I can actually do maybe 900 things or 800 things. It doesn't cut off as many things as we think, but our mindset is such that we go, yeah, I might as well just not even try all of those other things. Why would a blind person try to start their own business? Later on, why would a blind person try to do a TEDx talk? That seems ridiculous and difficult. The silver lining of doing a TEDx talk while blind is one that I always love, is that you have to have a script for a TEDx talk, something people don't know. I had to memorize my script well in advance. So at rehearsals a week before, everybody had their little papers and they were checking their papers all the time. I didn't have the luxury. I memorized mine a month and a half before then, which made my talk that much better because I could focus on the other things. And this brings me to the unique part. Too many people have pointed out that I am an optimist and I want to find that interesting thing, that next point somewhere else, that I'm this ball of positive energy because I want to be. And I'd rather find the way that we can do it as opposed to figuring out all the reasons we cannot do it. Not to say that I'm just blindly, ironically, blindly optimistic, but I think that it's much better for us to find the ways that we can as opposed to always focusing on the reasons that we cannot. And that is really what is unique about me. And the blindness is just something that continuously showcases it. Because again, I work with video. A blind videographer, like, what do you mean? And so people understand, blind in this case doesn't mean completely just black, can't see anything. I like to say everybody's a beautiful blur. So it's blurry, but we have technology. They can zoom in and they can do all of these things. So that would be the answer to that question.
Well, that's actually what drew me because I'm mega into networking. I'm getting tons of referrals to connect with people. And I had no idea about the unicorn thing. I had no idea about the video thing. I just got your name from a very awesome person. But the TEDx thing was right in your signature, and I clicked on it. And I really have a thing for walking, and your things about like walking. And I have a thing because I sit at a computer too much, which is why I really like walking. And it goes back to the consistency thing of social media and not giving up on New Year's resolutions, because throughout my life, I build up and I always start walking. And then next thing you know, I'm doing Zumba, and then I add low impact, and like and I build up, but and then I fall off the wagon, and then I start with walking, and it always
Mm.
comes back to walking, and that's one thing I just really love and everything. So I don't know. I loved your TEDx talk. I was just totally, and then and I'm all into the universe. Yes, I'm like a little woo woo and all that stuff, but I was just like, this person, and we're talking video and social media marketing and everything. But honestly, what it was like made me like, I got to meet this guy was your TEDx talk because of my personal gravity to walking. Walking's
Mm.
very, very important to me. I'm always listening to positive stuff, and I get up and I have to walk in the morning. I'm walking at 5 or 6 in the morning every morning. So, but anyway, that's my little thing. So
Are you listening to music at 5 in the morning, or 5 in the morning it's listening to your own thoughts? Because it makes it sound like a way of meditation. It's not a sitting meditation, but it's a walking meditation in a way.
well, I'm really now I can't read. I hate reading. So
Mhm.
I'm falling in love with audiobooks, and I have my own coaches and everything, and then I'm also meeting all these people, and people like, so I just love the fact that and then I have like all my little gurus and stuff. So I just listen to these books and everything. So, and then it makes me think about what I'm doing with my life personally, business wise. It's the other thing that I've realized that you also touched on. In my past, like everyone, compartmentalize stuff, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, so much that's in my personal life affects my business, and vice versa,
Mm.
and all these little aha moments that I'm having. I'm like, oh, this affects my relationships with clients, and personal people and friends and stuff. So the overlap is definite. And so yeah, that's what I listen to when I walk, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. I do a similar thing. There's definitely some benefit to it. And sometimes if I'm on a really good part of a podcast or a book, sometimes I'm like, I can't wait to go walk, which is an amazing thing if you're somebody who's struggling with the motivation side of the exercise and the movement. When you're going, oh, this is my actual time to. We have an 8-month-old baby, so there's also that sometimes where I'm like, I love him, but I gotta get out of the house, and so walk. Great, there you go. Though most of my walks, I just take him with me because he likes it and he quiets down, so it's still a win. So I love hearing the walking thing. And for anybody listening, it could be something else. My wife loves dancing. That's how she prefers to get some of her movement in every now and again. And so maybe at midnight, she's just dancing with her headphones in. I've seen it far too many times.
Yeah, for me, the walking is always the starting. So, like, I love Xbox. So, I do Zumba on Xbox. I do the Just Dance videos on Xbox. But then I knew I had to add low impact. And at one
Mhm.
point, I had a personal trainer. But, even if it was just 6 minutes, that 6 minutes like killed me. But then all of a sudden, it builds, it builds. But it always starts, just like you got to do your first video and just do it. Sometimes it doesn't hurt you just to walk around the block if you can't.
Mhm.
People think they got to go to the gym and work out for an hour and, do all this stuff. You really don't.
When I talked more about the movement side of things and reducing how much we're sitting, I talked about reducing the obstacles towards going for a walk as an example. And I took it to kind of a ridiculous state. I said, taking the next step each time until it gets so ridiculous that turning around is stupid. So to give an example is, for example, the first time you put on your shoes and then just take them off. That's fine. That's it. That's all you did that day. You just put on your shoes, you take them off. You don't even have to go to put on your shoes, open the door, now close the door, take off your shoes. That's it. You're done. You don't even have to go for the walk. And then you just continuously progress until at some point you're going to put on your shoes, go out the door, close the door, walk down your driveway, and all of a sudden go, well, this is kind of stupid for me to turn around now. I might as well go on this walk. And so by that, you kind of force yourself to get to that point where it's silly to just turn around and say no, and you might as well just do the thing.
Well, you answered. I mean, the only other thing is that I want to add, but before I say that, is there anything else that you would like to chat about or anything? I mean, I've enjoyed thoroughly having you and all your insight.
Well, I want to hear from your end because I've talked about like the video stuff. I've talked about some of these mindset parts. What do you see in clients when they try to make video? What are the things that you constantly hear of why they might not make it? What are some of your maybe your own personal? You said you like the batching of the content or the going live. What are some issues that you might have had or some insights you went, "Ooh, this made it easy for me."
I think one of the things that I see is like when you say people don't realize things are so interesting because they're like living in it. I'm very big on like campaigns. I liked how you broke those things down, like fun. That's one thing I'm amazed. I was like, okay, so I promote holidays and motivational quotes and everything. And then I did the very first TikTok thing I had the glasses on the head. I did clap, clap, and the glasses fell down, and like 1,000 people viewed it. I'm like, okay, nobody cared about my motivational stuff. That I just thought was so meaningful. So, but then I'm having so much fun doing the fun stuff. So, because I do holidays, I did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, no matter what, it started my glasses falling down. And then my marketing brain is like, let's make these into campaigns. And I did a different thing for it. So, of course, Tuesday was Taco Tuesday. Had to do Taco Tuesday. And but people can do that, like, so I'm very to keep it simple, stupid. I like that saying, the KISS.
Hmm.
um so that's what I do with my clients. They're like, that's why I ask the question. People get overwhelmed, like, what? And I'm like, it is important to be dynamic and something's happening and to do something spontaneous and not evergreen everything. But to keep it simple, you have a lot of stuff. toot your own horn. You have testimonials. You can make testimonial campaigns, before and afters. You have that. What is already on your website? So you can create a lot of content to fill up, because also you have different audiences, and yes, you can make it complicated and just attract just the Instagram audience or this, but you don't have to make it. But there are different people everywhere, and everyone didn't see this stuff, which, I admit I don't have a zillion YouTube subscribers yet, but people like on LinkedIn, all of a sudden now they're like, I see your show all the time on LinkedIn, because I have like thousands of people on LinkedIn. And so people don't know all your stuff. And, so it's okay to put this stuff out there. So like, I kind of see like people just think this whole content thing is so overwhelming. And I would rather put the time and energy to think of something new. But yes, you can post at least once a week, something that already exists. People just don't even know what they already have. It's like you have this beautiful website. They just expect someone to come in and take over and change everything. But a lot of times you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, some people have really, really good stuff. They just, haven't their website. People think that when they have a website, that's another thing I say all the time, which now I'm starting to date myself, and I'm going to be like, I'm starting to think people aren't going to know what I'm talking about. But I'm like, you build a website, they will not just come. It's from Field of Dreams, a movie. I know, I'm like starting to think, oh my gosh, people are not going to know what I'm referencing when I say this, So I'm like, am I getting old? But just because you have a website, people haven't seen everything on it, and this is your opportunity to reinvent it, reinvent the content you already have, and that's what I help people do. And I think that's what people don't see. And they think they have to do all this fresh new stuff. And you should do the fresh new. You should do long videos. You should do short videos. It's all about balance. But also at the same time, like you said, keep it simple. Don't get so overwhelmed.
You touched on so many lovely things there. I want to echo some of them in three big takeaways that I've noticed in my work as well. The first, and this has been the motto for this entire year, is that concepts are few, but the methods are many. So the concepts are few, but the methods are many. What that means is that a lot of people sell methods, and the overarching thing that you need to follow are the concepts. As long as you're going with those, great, it's wonderful. So in this sense of, would long form videos help you? Yeah, probably. Would short form videos help you? Yeah, probably. Would a blog help you? Yeah, probably. But what are all of them doing? The concept for all of them is they're all marketing. The point is that they're all marketing. The method of which length of video, is it a blog? What platform is it on? Those are all methods. So as long as you know that you have a concept that is important for you to use, you can say, yes, we already have a method for marketing. We don't necessarily need to do all of the methods for marketing. The concept is fulfilled. So that's the first part before people start going, oh my goodness, they're saying I need to do absolutely everything. No, you don't need to do everything. Maybe we get into the point of where you're like, well, the method I chose isn't working. Okay, that's a different conversation. You may need to switch methods, not just blatantly add methods on top of it. The second and third part kind of coexist in a similar thing. And that is, I have a strong belief personally that it seems to me many marketers don't share, except that they kind of do, but I don't hear them saying it. And that is, you should not listen always to what your audience wants. Because if you change your business for your audience, your brand is now whatever the audience wants, we're going to change for that. As opposed to what branding and being a brand really is you're saying, hey, audience, this is who I am. This is what we do and how we do it and why we do it. Do you want to be part of this? And that is where those strong brands are, where you really need to say, this is who we are. We're defining ourselves. Anybody who's in, come on in. And so many people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to truly say this is how and what we are, because we're afraid to push out away those people. But it seems that when you do that and you have those clearly defined boundaries, that is where a lot of the clients and a lot of the loyalty, the knowing, the liking, the trusting really comes in.
Awesome. Well, like I said, it has been a pleasure having you. And I mean, I feel like we have the same beliefs and everything. I did find this quote: "Be a unicorn in a field of horses," and contact Stefan at stefanzavalin.com. And the reason I liked it is because you're always finding that uniqueness in people. In a field of horses, you make everyone a unicorn. You don't have to have your own horn at home. You know, he's gonna find it in you. So you have a complimentary 101 creative content ideas on your website. I have your link in the description and everything. So I encourage everyone to go to a site, book an appointment and everything. Let him find something, very unique, in all of us. As you see, he's already flipped the tables and he's interviewing me. So he can't resist. He is the master interviewer and his videos are awesome. So I encourage everyone, and thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom this evening.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I want to clarify also for anybody that might be listening. And if you're going, oh, are the 101 ideas meaning I have to talk to? No, that's going to be a free download. You don't have to interact with me at all. Just get them. And I think it's about 20 different industries that it's written out for. So even if you're thinking, oh, he doesn't have something specific for me, chances are it's in there and you're going to have fun doing it. So, but thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Great. And you're a smart cookie. So I'm sure you have all the bases covered. Thanks so much.